Alright. Let's get into it, gang. We've got Falcon Solar on the right side of the map. It's the semi-finals of the WardiTV PTR tournament number 1. And in the left side, we've got CLEM for Team Liquid, the man who's probably played more of this patch in its early version than anyone else in the world. He's going to play Whispers of Gold. This is a scary map to start on as Solar. The reason is, guys, look at Solar's bases. Takes a third here or out here. Either way, it's a stone's throw through the middle of this map to CLEM's third. And look at these ledges, rocks where you can put tanks behind them, behind there. I mean, as a Zerg, you need to break these rocks down as early as possible. And you need to just really read the play correctly and be ready to jump on CLEM. And if you can get 1 or 2 good fights, get some momentum, I think it plays quite well with the kind of counterattacks you can hit as a Zerg, denying a Terran 5th base and the like. But if the Terran just doesn't fall behind, and especially if he gets a bit of a lead, it's going to be scary to stop the momentum, especially with someone like CLEM, who's just so good. So, honestly, if Solar drops this first map, I don't think it's the biggest deal. I imagine he's going to pick a better map for Zerg in the next one. I don't know, maybe Amygdala? I'm not really sure how the maps play in Zerg versus Terran so far, but we will find out. Okay, so we've got just a command center on the natural, no scout for CLEM. Very chilled out in the opening stage. Solar, he is going to be just chilling for now. Zergling comes out. 4 Zerglings into 2 queens. That's interesting, guys. Most people go queens, then Zerglings. He went Zerglings, then queens. Just a slight little deviation. You might think that's not big, but it can definitely add up. And he's pulling off gas, despite not taking Ling speed. How interesting. Just kind of optimizing his minerals as Solar right now, and I think this is him saying, yeah, just gets the 100 gas, doesn't use it straight away. 27 hatchery, he's already got the Overlord building, extra drone goes down. The Reaper chasing the Zerglings, very ambitious for CLEM, but it just shows that CLEM has absolutely no fear. It's kind of funny watching the modern Reaper. I was just casting some old videos of games from 2014, Life vs. Tasia and the like yesterday, and comparing that to this Reaper micro, it's kind of funny where like Tasia was pretty good with his Reaper micro, but you could kind of see like just he was kind of the cutting edge of micro control and build orders back then, and you kind of compare it to the modern age and like someone like CLEM who's just so crisp, and you're like, oh damn, it reminds me how special CLEM really is. I mean, even Beyond had not really reached his peak levels of control at that point in 2014, even though he'd been competing in Codes for many years. And Beyond, remember, is literally CLEM's dad. He's his esports dad. I really maintain that, right? Like, basically, CLEM is Beyond's child, and Raynor is Dark's illegitimate child as well. Just, you look at the styles and how they're kind of the next younger European versions of those super interesting and fun Korean players that were playing in the World Championship final back in 2016. And these guys, of course, are in those World Championship finals pretty much non-stop from 2020 onwards. Even 2019, actually, if you think about it, there was a bit of a passing of the torch, right? Where Dark actually beat Raynor in Raynor's first World Championship Grand Finals in 2019, right? Dark kind of schooled him. Hold on. Reaper Hellion, he's going to go for the dive. That's a very dangerous move, but Ling speed is not ready. And CLEM feels confident that he can get some pickoffs here. He's not trying to focus the drones. Now he is. Does get 1 drone. Getting a few Zerglings. If he can get the Hellions out, get them home and repair them, I think this is a super worthwhile move. But he figures not. I'm going to get caught. I've got to double back. Gets himself 2 more drones. And then this does get cleaned up. At the end of the day, guys, 3 drones and a few Zerglings. Is it worth it? Well, it depends if these Hellions get damaged. Does waste a bunch of mining time as those drones run away, but as the Lings come out, CLEM is going to back off. CLEM so in his opponent's face with these sorts of moves. And like I said, big wide open areas on the front, very exposed bases, not a long rush distance. It's hard to stop this sort of poking. I actually thought the Hellions were going to go deep there, but it looks like CLEM has some macro to do at home. 3rd command center floats out, 3rd and 4th gas on the way. 3rd and 4th gas. 3rd and 4th gas. Whoa. My man's meching. CLEM is going to mech it happen. No way. We're going old school battle mech, perhaps. Now remember, guys, what did everyone say on Reddit? Reverting the Cyclone change, that change that I advocated heavily for. It's really dumb because the old Cyclone's a bad unit. It never gets used outside of building 1 for every TvT. It's not interesting or good. I can't believe they'd go and revert it. Guys, you were wrong. We saw battle mech for years with the old Cyclone, and then there was a meta where people got really good at defending it, and it did kind of fade out at the top level. But I was after years and years of seeing interesting dynamic battle mech play. And to see people say, oh, that's just not viable or not good, or whatever, it's like, Yeah, we didn't see too much mech after the new Cyclone either. You know, just because the Cyclone doesn't make mech a mainstay of Terran vs. Zerg every second game doesn't mean this other Cyclone isn't interesting, because I do think it's a much more interesting unit. But always fascinating to see people say, like, oh, it's bad, when it's arguably overpowered at low level. When players don't know how to deal with that Cyclone, it is, oof, tough to deal with. Look at that drone corpse go flying. Magfield coming in, Hyperflight Rotors as well. Third Factory will be floating down. Cool to see Clem playing. This is a very multitasking heavy style, and it's a style where as Zerg, it's okay to fall behind on workers against the Terran, but you need to defend and crush their army once those Cyclones come in. Because if you don't have enough to crush the Cyclones, they will pick away at you and get so much value over time. Already one Banshee goes down. Good defense for Solar. Solar trying to take his fourth on the left side. Oh, he's not going to take the triangle base. He's going to expand in the straight line. I much prefer this expansion pattern, but pros normally do the opposite, which is why I'm so fascinated. Ling's trying to block the Hellion dive. Pretty good Ling micro. He's got a queen well positioned to block that ramp. Drones are going to run away. Few of them will die, but I think this is about as close to a fantastically perfect defense as you could get for Solar, considering the situation. Banshees will come in the left at the same time. Hellions get 4 drones in total. And the Banshees on the left side might be able to get that hatchery, actually. Realizes the queens are far away. Only 4 drones go down. Units lost are very positive for Solar. But remember, it's a mass expanding swarming style. When you play Battle Mech, you roll reverse, where the Terran player, who normally has less bases and is more efficient, says, I can be less efficient than you, but swarm. I'm going to out-expand you. Look at this. Your 4th is dead. My 4th's halfway done. But I'm building a less efficient composition in the long run. It's fast. It's annoying. If it catches you off guard, it can get lots of damage for free. But in a direct combat, anytime those Cyclones get pressed up against the wall, they will get crushed very efficiently by Zerg. Mass Roaches on the way. Overlord speed as well. Solar's going to go all in. Solar is going to go all in. He wants to do a Roach speed Queen German Taxi, or maybe even just Overlord Highway all in across this map. But it's hard to do that against these Cyclones. Now, keep in mind, guys, these Cyclones are broken. Pretty sure this is played on the PTR, not on a mod, which means the Cyclone lock-on range, which is meant to break at 14 or 15 range, is only going to break at 9. Right? 5 less range than it should have. 5 or 6. I always get the number confused. I forget which one it is. So the Cyclones have nowhere near the kiting potential they should have, and that's why, I mean, we normally should see people transition out of the Cyclones at a certain point. Let's see if Clem can make this happen, even with the Cyclone that does not have its full range available. 6 drones go down. The Banshee's pulling back. 2 of them deep in the red. Very nice harassment. Solar's happy to sit on 64 workers. He's going all in. Solar, when he plays against Protoss or against Mech, he has one of the most reliable mindsets ever. He's very predictable. He says, I will kill you. I do not want to play a long game against Mech. I do not want to play a long game against Protoss either. And he kind of treats it as the same thing. He's just going to go for the big YOLO. Biles across that right side, but all stacked on the same spot. Bit of a mistake there, using rapid fire. Just a single bile would have scared those Banshees away. Queen's finally on the front, though. They are going to help support against the Banshees. Problem is, keeping back those Roach Ravager allows the Cyclones time to lock on. And you can see, yeah, those Cyclone lock-ons are breaking way earlier than they should be. Despite that, the Banshee micro has been really good. These Queens are a bit too far behind. He needs Overlord Highway to get those Queens forward. The Banshees and the Cyclones are kiting these Ravagers to death before the Queens even get there. Almost all the Roach Ravager army is already gone. The Biles do have to be dodged, but Clem gets right back up in there. Cyclones, Banshees, and Hellions doing damage. Remember, Magfield and the Cyclones takes them from 400 to 600 damage versus all units, not just armored units like it used to be. So they're good versus Ravagers, good versus Queens, and better versus Zerglings. This is actually massive. Clem takes down the army, holds on, and Solar, we know that he always tries to all in against Mech. I think Clem might have realized it as well. He's got a 4th command center, fully established 5th command center, now builds in response. He's up 20 workers, and he can now Zerg the Zerg player. He can overwhelm and swarm them and get right in there. A couple of Roaches come forward. You can see the Cyclones. They don't have that kiting range they normally do, man. It's kind of funny seeing that. But once you have momentum with the Cyclone Banshee style, it doesn't matter that much. It's only in the very even situations where the Cyclones are, you know, you really have to break their vision is normally the way you break lock-ons, right? Even if you blink, you have to blink very far back normally to break the lock-on when it's working correctly, because it's just such long reach. Vehicle weapons and armor on the way on the double armory. Now, you might be wondering, why is the armory so late? The reason is Cyclones are not like the mass-produced Cyclone that relies on its actual damage. This Cyclone is all spell damage. So attack upgrades don't really matter. Sometimes you'll see people just go single armory to get armor and nothing else. It's only really once you go into tanks and Thors that those vehicle weapon upgrades become very important. You know, it does help Hellions a little, helps the Cyclones in between lock-ons a little bit, but it's nowhere near as important as the Cyclone lock-on, which is their core part of their damage. I think there's even an argument with this style you could go ship weapons instead, since you usually are building Banshees for most of that early mid-game. Clem does take game 1 there, and he does it in style with Mech against Solar on Whispers of Gold. All right, guys, Solar there. Once he realizes he's going Mech, that all-in is so predictable off of him, and I think this predictability of Solar, it's his strength when he's playing players who he's better than, because he's just so refined at doing it. But against a guy like Clem, who I think studied him a little bit, might have been ready for that. Now, to be fair, Clem's so good, he might have just been following a plan of just play Battle Mech and Mass Cyclone Banshee, and he just kind of microed his way through it, I guess. Pretty good harassment from him, canceling the 4th base as well. It feels like when you cancel a Zerg's 4th, especially Solar, because Solar's 4th is already one of the latest 4th bases of any Zerg in this matchup, it kind of funnels him into being aggressive on 3 base because it doesn't feel good as a Zerg to drone up a base that's just started building, right? The drones will like rally over there, do 1 or 2 long distance mining trips, takes a little while extra to pay off, and I don't actually think it's too bad to do that, but Solar is usually looking for any excuse to throw an all-in at a mech player, and didn't work out that time. Solar actually made some amazing Broodlord comebacks against Beyond's mech on the last patch, right? Beyond was spamming mech for about a month there, winning a surprising amount of games. Never thought of Beyond as a mech guy, but he was really getting ahead every single game with like just pure factory Cyclone Hellion timings. Unfortunately, Beyond just could not handle the Broodlord swaps. He was always a little bit too late with his tank timings. Broodlords would come out and just wreck him. Command Center comes out. I imagine we go back to Bio. This is Amygdala. Like I said, I was thinking this would probably be the Zerg map pick, and the reason is it's just a longer rush distance. You have to go around the outside, see the Reaper, because this whole middle area is locked away by these rocks. It's a long rush distance. That being said, I feel like it's going to some extent, favor Clem pushing around these edges, because he likes playing the multi-prong game and pushing those extreme fronts. You also have the gold base in the middle, which Clem can take that gold base as his 3rd if he breaks these rocks, and he can siege the Zerg gold from the other side. So I think taking the Zerg, the gold as the Zerg is a terrible play. I think as the Zerg, you usually want to take either this 4th here or the 4th up top, and you want to kind of expand along the edges of the map. And you do want to try and break the rocks down as well, just to get some direct paths towards the turn, but you want to try and, you know, swing your army between those 2 lanes on the outside and counterattack. All right, Reaper's going to try to jump in. Ling's going for a surround. Good block. Ling speed, 3/4 of the way done. Queens are building. 3rd queen on the way. Remember, guys, hatchery's a little bit cheaper. Queen's a little bit more expensive. Does make a difference here. Starport. No, that's the 2nd barracks. We're going to play the old 3cc 2-on-1 question, guys. Is it 2 Hellions or is it 4? I think he's probably going to stop at 2. We're going to probably see that lift off, barrack swap over. Ah, no, he's going to squeeze 2 more Hellions. Okay, so 4 Hellions and a Reaper will be the only map control for Clem. He'll follow up with those 16 Marines, the 2 Medevacs. The question, of course, is does he add Hellbats? It's always an option with a 3cc 2-on-1. You can do that. But for now, that barracks will be lifting over, and then we should start a starport here. Factory will lift down and build a new reactor for the starport as well. Reaper Hellion still poking. Not finding too much. Factory needs to lift over. You can tell he doesn't tell it to build the reactor straight away because that would just tie up resources. He wants to start the Marines, build 2 more SCVs, and only then, as it lands, does he build the reactor. That's just Clem having faith in his APM. If you're a low-level player, better to just queue the APM up straight away. I say low. Anyone that's not insanely fast. I think correction, probably a better way to say that. Ling's going to go around the left side looking for a run by. They will run into the Hellions. Let's see how quick Clem reacts. As he's got his Hellion Reaper split on both sides, but oh, the Lings actually dodge it. Interesting. Ready to swing in from behind if those Lings surround. That could be a big Nidusworm. Nidusworm. Sorry, guys. I didn't even realize the lair had been made. That is crazy. Reaper Hellion does see these Zerglings. Clem reacts pretty darn quickly. Look at the Marines in the mineral line. He can use the SCVs there to help block. Oh, and 2-on-1's so good against this because if you can get enough Marines with Stim, they can do really well. Hellions fighting very nicely, and he's going to be able to defend that Zergling poke. Doesn't really give away the fact that it's a Nidusworm just yet, though. First 2 medevacs are on the way. Stim coming in soon as well. Massling coming across this map. He needs this Nidus Worm to go up. These Hellions get trapped on the outside of the base. That could be big. Armory's on the way. He was thinking of doing a Hellbat Marine attack. He sees it. Command Center floating out. Does spot the Nidus Worm. There's no way he stops that in time. I think the Queens should be able to get out. The Lings are flooding in the front at the same time. The Lings coming in from behind. The Queens need to transfuse. They do start transfusing. The Lings getting a massive surround. Those Marines taking both Zergling damage and Stim damage. And a lot of those Marines just went down, guys. That was huge. Nice pullback on the Lings by Solar as well. Creep Tumor goes down. The Queens and the Lings are in the main. He's got Lings on the natural as well. Good Hellion pullback, though. Those Hellions grouping up is really big. Hellions, very hard to engage with Zerglings. Clem's going to try and use that micro to get value, and he indeed is going to achieve just that. Marines over there, they did just do another stim. They've got medevacs for healing, but those Marines, those Hellions need to pull back. Without any tanks, it's going to be hard to deal with this. Hellbats are morphing. Spinecrawler's building in the base. Solar taking a leaf out of Dark's book right now and bringing out a foul play. Zerglings are on the ramp as well, taking out the depots. Queen's trying to hang on. He's got to get in there before the spines finishes, Clem, and I think he's going to be able to do it. These Hellbats and SCVs with the medevac healing are actually doing insanely well. These Marines in the back adding so much damage. Spinecrawler goes down. Second spine goes down. And I actually think maybe Solar should have pulled out of here. This might have actually been one of those scenarios where Dark would have popped his Queens back in the Nidus, maybe tried to focus some buildings on the natural and transitioned. But because he overcommitted there, I think this is quite bad for Solar. If you keep those 4-5 Queens alive, you've got 7 Queens to defend your 3-hatch, right? And Clem's in a bit of a hard position. Don't remember, he has Stim and medevacs. But those Stim and medevacs, if you got 7 Queens, aren't that scary. If you got 2 Queens, ooh, then you're still kind of all in right now. And this feels like it's actually very good for Clem. Yeah, you might think, well, what are you talking about? 10 worker advantage. Guys, Stim, medevacs, that's such a huge advantage on the tech right now. Zerg to take more gases, take more buildings. Every time you build a building, that's a dead drone. So let's see Solar hang on to this worker advantage. It's going to be tough. The moment these units come across the map to counterattack, the moment Clem feels safe to go counter drop him or anything like that, it's going to be hard for Solar to hang on. He makes Baneling speed, so he's going to do a Baneling speed, maybe 3 gas all in, 2 gas all in. 46 workers right now. No Evo chambers. Overlord's building. 1 more Queen, more Zerglings. And 2 Hellbats and a medevac in the mineral line. I do like to see that. Solar poking around, looking for openings. More Hellbats and Marines in the natural. And we've got that first 8 Marine drop poking across the map. Fantastic hold for Clem. It was keeping the Hellions alive that was so crucial. Those Hellbats with the SCVs in front, the medevacs behind, there was just no way to deal with those 4 Hellbats. And that really was what was instrumental in this hold. I do think, like I said, if Solar pulled back, it would be one of those situations where Dark just has this deep knowledge of these situations and knows exactly when to pull out. But Clem, a man who does let the Zerg... the Terran, sorry, find out his last name a little bit, Mr. Solar. Lets them find out his address, his last name. Lets them get a bit too much info on him, and they will hunt him down for that child support. Marines in medevacs coming forward, gets an Overlord and a few Zerglings. Going to pull back. Mass Banelings. Now, this is going to be interesting, because that is 25 Banelings, 27 Zerglings. No other upgrades. 1-1 won't be finished. Vehicle weapons won't be finished as well. You're going to have to focus things down. The Marines are going to find it. Clem's not watching. Oh, no. Clem loses a bunch of Marines at the very start. The Banelings need to split up, though. Solar needs to split into all 3 bases, I think. Or does he? He's going to try and keep it together, because Clem, of course, is going to split his units up. Clem knows he can lose quite a lot of stuff and still be okay. Ling's going after the workers. Banelings trying to avoid getting a wasteful blow-up. Clem's micro is so good. Oh, the Banelings, though. Clear out all the Marines and Hellbats. And I think Clem might just be screwed. He's got like 3 Marines and a Hellbat right now. There's so many Zerglings here. We do need more Banelings on the front. That Hellbat on the ramp. That Hellbat on the ramp just killed a lot of Zerglings. Damaged a lot more of them. And we're going to need to morph more Banelings. Clem back to 2-base mining. More Banelings making on the front. Double Evo chamber coming in behind it. 1-1 is getting dangerously close to finishing. 1-1 plus Stim, plus Shields, plus Medevacs means each one of these Marines will have the power of Arnold Schwarzenegger. They will be basically him and Commando. Each one's just going to comically pull out bigger and bigger guns and rocket launchers and blow stuff up. Lings and Banes here. Tank on the high ground. Tank on the high ground with a massive shot there. And, ooh, the Marines are getting surrounded a little bit, but he's going to unsiege the tank potentially. Or, actually, the Marines will save it. Depot does get up at the last second. Ling's trying to get on top of that tank. If he can clear that tank, he might be able to get in here. Oh my god, the tank's going to go down, but only after he gets 28! 28 kill siege tank. Sergeant Chadhammer herself. We are talking about the biggest of Chadhammers. We are talking about ridiculous damage. And look at that. Reincarnated. Back another one on the high ground. And that's unbreakable. Solar has to macro out of this. Solar cannot keep going. Solar has to macro out of this. That siege tank had 28 kills before it died. That is insane. 12 workers do go down, but Solar's only on 48, and the fourth base has just started. If Solar had a fourth base already finished, and like 5-6 queens, a bit more creep spread, I truly believe in like the ability to just get too far ahead. But with 1-1 finished, Marine counterattack coming, you've only got a few queens and Zerglings. This next minute of the game, it's a struggle now to get into a standard game for Solar. Spread creep, get your queens on the front, survive till you've got at least your 1-1 upgrades. But with 2-2 coming, Clem's on 51 workers. He's only down a handful of workers. He has survived the scariest part of this game. The power of just insane micro and reactions. He had no idea this all-in was coming, but it's Clem. When was the last time he needed to know an all-in was coming? The man can micro his way out of any trouble at all. Always got someone willing to post bail, you know? Clem's got that Terran micro privilege. When you're this good at microing, I don't even know if it's a Terran thing, it's just a StarCraft micro privilege. If you're this good at microing in general, you get away with stuff normal people don't, you know? The whole StarCraft judicial system is set up to favor people who were born wealthy like you. Lings and Bane's going to jump on top, gets himself a tank kill, not bad. Tank gets 7 kills on its first shot. My lord, Ling Bane do not like siege tanks. Clem, pick up. That's rude. Staying there that long to focus down more Banelings is just offensive. That's not fair, man. Banelings will roll in. Chad Hammer on the high ground, 7 kills, saves the SCVs. Very nicely done. Sad. I guess I should say Chad Hammer 2.0, but still. Fourth command center is there, second factory coming up as well. Solar on 69 workers. His 1-1 will finish. Does he have the gas for 2-2? He does, actually. And he's on 75 workers. Solar might be able to make a game of this. He's just got to get on top of these counter drops. And remember what I said about, you know, Clem's going to be comfortable harassing both sides of the map at once. I do feel you get very spread on these maps. And I think the longer it goes, the more that'll favor Clem's multi-prong. If it goes to the ghost stage, then maybe it becomes bad for Clem. Maybe. But I feel like in the mid stage, you know, Marines, Mines, Medevacs on both sides, Clem's just so good at out-trading Zerg players. He's 3,000 resources ahead in the unit slots, gets himself another couple of queens, picks up, flies away. Luckily for Solar, some Hydras are coming out, which will give him a little bit of anti-air. Now, more Banelings are there, but remember, Chadhammer's on the high ground, and her assistant, Nigel, the siege tank, is at the front. That's going to gun down these Banelings, probably before they get in the mineral line, especially with the Marines there. And look at the way Clem just never F2s. I would have pulled my army to defend. Clem, nah. Sends a counter drop to the top. Drop to the right, so one on the top, one on the bot. Command center is going to come forward. Banelings are not being monitored, and the Marines and Nigel, the tank, will take care of those. And they'll get a few SCVs, actually. 5 SCVs do go down. Marine drop on the right side, managing to take out a few Zerglings, but going to drop behind the minerals. So annoying to deal with. Solar a little too slow to get on top, which means they get in the corner. Accidentally attack the unbuildable plate there as well for a moment. And Marines now landing in the middle of the mineral line. Same time, a drop got deflected on the left side. But this is so low risk for a guy like Clem who's this fast. He can just poke and prod from all sides. Now, he hasn't started this 3-3 yet, but he does have a 4th planetary coming up. Solar, solid on 5 base. Hive started, and his 2-2 upgrades are closing. If the next big fight can be delayed till after 2-2, I think Solar's doing a really good job of stabilizing from an awkward early game position. Of course, Clem did a fantastic job of just sliding out of that early aggression like it wasn't a concern at all. Once again, so confident with that Marine Widowmine micro, gunning those units down. Oh, look at this. Drop in the natural at the same time. Widowmine Marine on the 5th base. That is very vulnerable. Sporkle on the right side ain't going to help against this. Widowmines could be getting some big boom booms. Decent first boom boom. Lings will defend the base at least. Nice split with the Zerglings. There's tank there as well. He's got to clean this up to Solar, but he's got nothing in the top now. He have to deal with this. Oh no! He thought that was the whole army, but of course Clem still had a quad drop on the left side. Finds himself a hatchery kill and picks up and glides into the main base. Still got Marines and Mines on that bottom side. That siege tank will go down. He picks up and saves that, and Solar realizes losing his 4th base against a Clem who's just expanding across the map, adding all the upgrades, doing all the rest of it. There was just no way to keep up. Clem with a 2-0 lead here in the Wardy PTR semifinals. All right, guys. Clem is smashing face right now, deflecting all ins like they're nothing. Solar is going to be on Ley Lines now. I'd say this is one of the maps we're going to be seeing a lot of in the new map pool. It feels very balanced, very even. We'll see what happens. Pig, do you think the disruptors are useless in pro games? They rarely hit. No. So this is the thing. A lot of people, there's a lot of tools that people do. Like Banelings often don't hit either. So are Banelings useless? No. Zealots are often getting kited to death. Does that mean Zealots are useless? No, otherwise why are pros still doing? You to realize that pro level players counter each other so much that just because the Disruptor doesn't hit doesn't mean it's not achieving anything. It's forcing a completely different usage of your opponent's army. It's forcing units to run away rather than fight, to spread. It can hold choke points so it can stop your opponent pushing through an area even though you have an inferior army in that area. That being said, I'm not a big fan of the Disruptor nerfs. I think we could go back to the old Disruptor and have that pay off. But I think part of the reason why there's been a move towards nerfing some of these big, in quotation marks, frustration points is partially because the early game has been so compressed and expansions are such a low cost trade-off. Where you might think, well, 400 minerals take 70 seconds to pay off. Isn't that a big cost? Yeah, but you get 2 supply depots worth of supply from it, which is 200 minerals. And because you start with so many workers and the way that the thing ramps up, it feels like, you know, all-ins are very limited in modern StarCraft because of the 12-worker start, and mass expanding happens so quickly at such a fast rate. The only real scouting you need to do in a lot of situations is my opponent mass expanding the way we normally do? And if not, I need to take a few general safety precautions. But you very rarely need to know exactly what your opponent's doing in the game. There's a lot more just optimizing your build. And there's such... If you don't expand fast and build workers really fast, you give up so much exponential economic growth because of how catapulted forward the start is. And it feels like tech is more of a bonus choice right now than something that actually forces reactions from your opponent. And that's something which I think is a little problematic. Maybe we can just make expansions a bit more high cost. Maybe they just cost a bit more to build expansions for all races. I don't know exactly how we do that, but it could be, you know, slow down the worker start as well to slow those openings down and make it a bit more, hey, do I want tech or an expansion? Whereas at the moment, I'll take an expansion and 3 forms of tech all about the same time because you've just got so much money. And that early game, you catapult right on through it. But we'll see how it goes. I do think Storm's an amazing spell versus Terran in the late game, but I think Disruptors are still good. Problem being, the Disruptor is, I believe, still 4 supply, and that's something which I just can't believe they would nerf its damage and keep it at 4 supply. The Balance Council's, you know, obsession with nerfing the Disruptor is a little bit comical in my opinion, and I think the Protoss players on the Balance Council clearly don't enjoy playing with the Disruptor, and it's really, you know, it's annoying that they keep nerfing it too much. I don't like it. But moving on to ZVT, we'll talk about that more later. The comment section on a Zerg vs Terran video is now going to all be about Disruptors. Armory. Oh, whoa, old school, baby. Dude, we're doing an old school Hellbat timing. Oh, damn. And you know what? Clem so rarely does this. This build is considered garbage in Europe, but he must be sensing that Solar is going to play really greedy here. Because if Solar goes double Evo Chamber, if he doesn't build a Baneling Nest or a Roach Warren, like right now, he's only got 4 queens with 2 more building. Your queen buildup is also delayed in the modern patch. Oh, because Solar's really worried about falling behind on drones. Yeah, he's focusing on drones. He's only building 2 queens, guys. Dude, you need so much transfuse to deal with this. Normally, you're meant to have at least 7 queens when this attack hits. It's coming across. Medevac's coming with 4 Marines. It's going to be 6 Hellbats, a Reaper, 4 Marines and a Medevac. No Roach Warren, no Baneling Nest. Only 6 queens. He's building a Roach Warren now and 2 gases, but it's so very late, and he finds out now he's going to run. Honestly, abandon the base. Run these drones. Spread your queens. Spread your queens. Got to be so careful. The Lings need to wrap around. Look at the way he tries. He's trying to intercept any reinforcements. That's the right move. Massing Zerglings because that's all he can build. He's got to pull back to buy time for transfuse energy. That queen pulling away is a really nice move. He can transfuse that other queen. Lings do end up coming in from behind, but they don't really help that much. He does damage the medevac, but he's got to spread his queens. Does Solar, you got to spread your queens. He's attacking into the Hellbats. He was obsessed with killing the medevac, and he's taking way too much damage. Pulling back with your queens is more important than killing the medevac. I think that was a big micro mistake from Solar. If he got the medevac, you could argue it would have paid off, and I think he did with the queen popping out on that 3rd base, but now he's lost the core of his damage. He's also building more Lings. The Roach Warren's done. He should be building Roaches right now. Oh, I think that was not the best micro for Solar. I think he might have been able to defend this with better micro, but it is what it is. It looks like Clem's going to do big damage. Oh, Liberator comes in behind. Liberator does siege up on that base, gets a bunch of drones. These Hellbats are finally going to fall down. Queen plus Zerglings might be able to defend this. 5 Roaches are coming in. Is there a Sporkler in the main? There is not, but Queen is on top of that. Liberator could do something. Hellbats take out the Queen there. Very nicely done. These drones need to run. Otherwise, that Liberator is going to give them a big dose of freedom. And much like freedom being dropped by drones on people living in yurts somewhere. I don't know if they appreciate that freedom. Anyways, double engineering bay coming out. We got 2 more barracks coming in, factory and a starport. It's a solid follow-up for Clem, and I think he's done more than enough damage, especially if he can get some sort of follow-up pressure going. Which, wait, why is he building another Liberator? Guys, he's building another Liberator? What? I thought he'd be building reactors over here. I guess he's worried about the counterattack. Oh, because he's playing solar, of course. He's building 2 Liberators, Hellbats, Marines, tanks. Solar has shown a preponderance to counterattack, right? If you commit to an attack, if this has been the story of the series, right? Game 1 cancels the 4th base. What is Solar's reaction? Always to go all in. If Solar takes big damage, he does not want to play a macro game against Clem from behind. Problem, Clem knows this. He knows that whenever he does damage, it's going to prompt Solar to all in, and he's ready for it. 2 bunkers, a tank, Hellbats there. The depot's going down's a problem. He's going to start building a few more depots. He should be building even more in the back, but notice the Liberators are spread. He's got SCVs there ready to mass repair. You need to triple bile the Lib, the tank, the other Lib, and that is going to be just so hard to get through here. 2 more depots are building right now. Clem taking damage on the bunker, but unless you drop 7 biles simultaneously, you're not going to be able to kill that bunker because there's so many SCVs ready to repair. And quick micro there on the repair coming in. He does dodge. The bile does take out the bunker, but there's 2 libs, a tank, and a bunker. Stim is done. The Marines gunning down the Zerglings. The Hellbats are gone. That Liberator will fall, but at what cost? 2 Ravagers step away, and there are still tanks and Marines. SCVs repairing, and 8 worker kills is nowhere near enough. Lair starts up here, but more Lings, more Ravagers coming forward. The Marines stim out and say, let's take some Ravagers out. Gets one of them. Does lose 1 Marine for a Ravager. Well worth it. Lings try to run in, and they achieve nothing. Solar is dead in the water in this game, and just running up upon the impregnable fortress that is Clem. Feels like Clem, there's very little stress in the game outside of the mechanical. You know, I do wonder if we've hit this point in StarCraft where, because Clem's actually doing all the things we've always said Terran could do, but just the players could never consistently pull it off. Like, is Clem exposing weaknesses with Terran design? Like the fact that, like, if you can handle the stress of just defending off the cuff and microing so perfectly in these chaotic situations, is Terran actually a race that doesn't need to react to much, and you just kind of follow your builds and just micro your way out of trouble? Maru had this kind of ability to do this for many years in certain situations, but it just feels like Clem's got this aura of invincibility in a lot of situations. It's not like he never loses, right? Shin cheeses him out sometimes. He loses some PVTs. I guess, and maybe it's me being biased, but I always feel like when he does lose these tournaments, it's mostly on old patch right now because he's not playing as much of it. And it's often on days where he's already played 4 tournaments that single day. And it just doesn't feel like he's really that focused or playing his A game. Because the thing about Serral or Maru is they only show up on their, you know, for the biggest tournaments. You assume they're in their A form. Clem plays every single online tournament under the sun. Like, you could literally, I could DM him right now, say, hey, want to play a best of 3 versus so-and-so. He would just rock up and play. I wouldn't even need to give him money, I don't think. He'd just be like, I just like playing games. He'll be playing Battle Aces. He'll be playing Zero Space. He'll be playing, like, all these different new games under the sun as well. Clem is just, like, an ultimate grindy gamer who just loves grinding so many games at once. And I think that just gives him this thing where he plays so much. Like, there's inevitably a few losses in there, but it just feels like a lot of his losses recently have no weight to them. I don't know if anyone agrees with that or not. Am I just simping for Clem? And actually, no, those losses were clearly him getting out strategized, his weaknesses being exposed, because it always feels like his losses are him just being a little bit not paying attention in his game. But maybe that's just a perception issue that I have. I'll keep my eye on it over the future cast. Double drop coming in the natural as well. Soul's doing a really good job of surviving right now. But I don't think there's any real, like how do you come back when you're down? Yeah. I was going to say, like, there's no path to recovery. 2-2 is almost done. 4th command center is almost done. Like, Clem's just grinding you down with Marine drops. Over 2,000 resources ahead. You don't have much creep control. It's hard to beat Clem when you're even. When you're this far behind, you're more than dead. An absolutely understandable GG for Solar. And Clem gets through to the finals of the Wardy PTR tournament #1.